there's one thing I've noticed after decades of being a gamer, it's that the industry changed forever once advertisers realized, oh shit, video games exist. And before long, you started to see advertisements not only in gaming magazines, but in the games themselves. And not just in the manuals either. Not just ads for other games, ads for things like shoes and pizza. Now, back then there was a certain novelty to these things. Remember the coupon for free pizza in the manual of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? That was awesome, and it made sense because the turtles eat pizza. But before long, the gimmick got old, and it got old fast. Soon we started to get the advertainment games, games that were designed with an ulterior motive in mind, to promote their product. Games like McKids, Yonoid, Cool Spot, Chex Quest, Dash of Destruction, Yaris, a game so bad it was actually pulled from Xbox Live Arcade despite being available for free, Chester Cheetah, and of course, Chester Cheetah 2. And we might take a look at some of those at a later date, but I want to start off by taking a look at 3 of the most infamous from recent memory: Pocket Bike Racer, Big Bumpin', and Sneak King. 3 games made as advertising tools for Burger King, known to my Australian fans as Hungry Jacks. All were developed by Blitz Studios, makers of such classic titles as Glover, Fusion Frenzy, and Bratz Rock Angels. Originally, the games were intended to be released on the then relatively young Xbox Live Arcade, but it was decided that the games were of such high quality they would instead be released as actual retail products. Ha! Quality. Right. So in late 2006, for $3.99 and the purchase of any value meal, you could walk out of any Burger King with a fully produced console video game for your Xbox. Yeah, kind of put your McDonald's Transformers Happy Meal toys to shame now, doesn't it? I'm sorry, that part just slays me. They actually charge people money for these games. Granted, $4 is a pretty paltry sum for a brand new game, but still, you paid them money in order to be advertised to. That's like paying for Xbox Live Gold and still having ads on the dashboard. Oh, right. Now, I never got these games when they were new, mostly because I never owned an original Xbox, and it wasn't until recently that I actually managed to pick up copies. I kind of want to say that I had to scour the internet and search Craigslist and eBay for them, but really, these are easier to find than a version at Comic-Con. They actually claim to work on either the Xbox or Xbox 360, containing both versions of the game on the same disc, making them one of the only original Xbox games you can still find at GameStop. So I hope you appreciate what I'm doing for you people. All told, these sent me back a grand total of $4.50. Now, it's not really fair to compare these to actual titles you buy in a game store, just like you don't compare a toy you get in a cereal box to something you get at Toys R Us. Again. So let's take a look at the first of the unholy trinity, Big Bumpin'. It's really hard to predict going in just what type of game this is. The others are kind of obvious, racing and stealth action, but this? When I think bumper cars, I immediately get flashbacks of waiting in line for an hour and paying 12 tickets to get rammed on all sides by people who always seem to have chosen the more maneuverable car, until the ride ends abruptly after less than a minute and you're left wondering why people enjoy bumper cars. Holy shit, it's a perfect representation. That's exactly how I feel after playing this. Like I just wasted my fucking time. Well, it's obviously not hiding the fact that this game is supposed to be an arcade title. Just look at this. The characters are so small you can barely see what you're doing. There's a bunch of random power-ups that really don't seem to do that much, like shields, magnets, repair kits, fairly standard stuff. You have a choice of 5 different stages, which mostly only have aesthetic effects that don't matter since you're going to be focusing on the game, not the backgrounds. The only minor changes occur when you pick different game modes, which gives you a different map layout. There's Shock Ball, which is like Hot Potato, where you don't want to be caught with the ball when it blows up. Own the Puck, where the last player to touch the puck begins earning points and you have to be the first to 300. Power Surge, which is sort of a variant on Capture the Flag. You have to collect a beam of light and deliver it to the central core. The faster you do so, the more points you get. My favorite part of this game is actually the blurb on the back of the box. Attention fans of electricity, this is the game you've been waiting for. Trust me, if you were really a fan of electricity, you wouldn't be wasting it by playing Big Bumpin'. And then there's Last Man Standing, which is exactly what it sounds like. Try to push your opponents into pits and hazards until there can be only one. Unfortunately, if you die early, you have to wait for the others to finish the battle. Playing this game alone on a Saturday night, just you against the CPU, is probably one of the saddest experiences you can ever have. No, strike that. The saddest experience you can have is Bumper Hockey single player. You have one AI teammate and you're trying to push the puck into the goal guarded by 2 other AI opponents. It's here that you quickly learn that your handling is absolute crap. You turn so slowly and your opponents won't stop banging into you. Ah! Get off of me, you assholes! But really, the thing you're going to remember most about this game, and all of them actually, isn't the lazy graphics and sluggish controls, it's the load times. Now, I'm not an idiot. I know disc-based games have to load, but they went way overboard with this game. On their own, they're already abusive, but they happen all the fucking time. You have to load when switching between menus, between every round, and even after every rematch. Yes, even if you're reloading the exact same level just for a rematch, it has to load again. It really takes its sweet-ass time loading, too. It doesn't even start loading until you confirm that you're done reading the menu. So oftentimes I'll be reading the tips just waiting for the game to load when I realize it's not even started loading yet. I have to hit the A button first. And sometimes the loading screen actually takes longer than the match itself. I timed it. You just don't design games this way. How would you feel if I had to take the time to load every time I switched between sections? See, that was only 4 seconds, but when it happens all the time, it starts to add up, and it gets very annoying. And then if that's not enough, if you decide you don't want to play the same level again, it doesn't just back you out to the level select screen, it kicks you all the way out to the main menu. It's like, what, you don't want to play the same level again? Fuck you then, back of the line! All things considered, I'd imagine this game could be fun. Maybe. I mean, maybe if you have 3 other people to play with. But you know what would be more fun? Literally anything else. And this game came out in, what, November 2006? And for $3.99, if you want something with multiplayer, you're better off shelling out the extra $1 for something like Gauntlet, Doom, or Street Fighter 2. All of which were already available to the Xbox Live Arcade at the time. How do you even define what genre this game is? Arcade bumper cars? Was there really a big outcry for bumper car video games? I could see this working as part of a larger collection of carnival minigames, like maybe a shooting gallery, skee ball, ring toss, and you throw the bumper cars in as part of that. But as a retail game, even at $4, Burger King, I expected better from you. The next game on our list is Pocket Bike Racer, because, well, I'm going in alphabetical order. And the first thing that comes to mind is, who the fuck is this? At first I thought it was Danica Patrick, you know, from GoDaddy fame, but according to the game info, it's Brooke Burke. Ah, of course. Who? I had to look her up on Wikipedia. Apparently she's a TV host and model best known for hosting the reality show Rockstar, which I never saw and only lasted 2 seasons. In fact, the show ended the same year Pocket Bike Racer came out, and she toiled in obscurity until becoming the host of Dancing with the Stars in 2010. So, way to bet on a rising star, Burger King! Seriously, who the hell does she sleep with to get involved in this? This actually does raise a legitimate issue. With McDonald's, you have characters like Ronald McDonald, Grimace, the Hamburglar, Birdie, but beyond the Burger King himself, can you name any Burger King mascots? You just don't really have that many iconic characters. You've got Brooke Burke, of course, and then Whopper Jr. and the Subservient Chicken. Who the fuck even remembers him? But then you have a bunch of lame generic characters like Winston the Cashier and Biker. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you could even customize your own character, which really only involves changing the color of your clothes, hair, and skin, which can lead to some pretty hilarious results. Yeah, pink skin, that's a nice realistic color. She looks like a blow-up doll. Am I reading too much into the fact that the only white guy in this game looks like a serial killer or something? You could potentially make anyone any race, but changing their skin still keeps the same facial structure. So if you give him brown skin, he doesn't look African, he looks like a drow. And Alvaro here has absolutely no ass. The exact same character creation menu is in Big Bumpin' and Pocket Bike Racer, same characters and options and everything. But the custom characters aren't saved between games, which I guess doesn't really surprise me and it's not really fair to complain about, but when games like this are developed and released simultaneously, it wouldn't have been that difficult of a feature to implement. Believe it or not, you can actually create and save 10 custom characters on every profile, which really seems unnecessary. Who in the hell would be so bored and desperate to actually fill up all 10 slots? Now onto the game itself. Believe it or not, it's actually not that bad. It's not great, but it's way better than any game like this has any right to be. By the way, nice typo there. This is the absolute bare minimum of a racing game. There's only 5 tracks, which is pretty pathetic. Although it is the only video game I can think of where you can actually race in a Burger King parking lot. After all, as the back of the box says, you've always wanted to race a tiny bike through a BK parking lot. Now the weapon system is by far the most interesting part of the game. As you race the track, you pass over checkpoint gates that award you with weapon energy. The smaller the gate, the more energy they give you, and you can spend the energy to use various gadgets like homing missiles, landmines, flashbangs, and this thing called the Disruptor that travels through walls and reverses the controls of whoever it hits. I always hate when they put things like this in games because it invariably affects the players way more than the computer. It's just like the bloopers in Mario Kart or the Nintendogs in Smash Brothers. What good does it do to block the screen of the AI? They're a fucking machine, they don't need to see anything. Same thing with the flash bombs. For them it doesn't do anything, but for you fool! Unfortunately, the weapons are about the only thing I can praise about this game. The actual tracks are really stupid. Your first time through, you can expect to come in dead last. Not because the AI is better than you, but simply because the tracks are just horribly designed. The paths are so meandering and random with a lot of wasted space that you never get to explore. And it treats you like you're an idiot. Every time you drive out of bounds, it just locks your controls and forces you back onto the track. No, bad dog, get back on the track. You know better than to go out in the yard like that. But this only happens some of the time. The rest of the time, you're forced to take the long route around just to get back on the track, and by that point, you'll have dropped to last place. Watch this part. There's other racers over there, so it's obviously in bounds, but nope, because you tried to take the shortcut, it's out of bounds for you. Now you have to go the long way around. In order to pad out the game, they added in different modes, probably the most fun of which is Battle Royale. Although in France, wouldn't that be a Battle Royale with cheese? It's sort of a poor man's Twisted Metal, but they only count number of successful hits, not the actual damage. And the AI in this mode is hilariously bad. They seem to think the best course of action is to drive the reverse direction around the track so they can target opponents head on. But that doesn't work when everybody is doing it. And naturally, there are certain levels that are designed to only go through one way, so they end up trapped in the landing zone of a jump, unable to get back across. It's pathetic. No joke, my very first try, I managed to sweep the entire tournament, first place in all 5 rounds. The music is varied, but tends to fluctuate between unremarkable and annoying. It has a fairly standard rock soundtrack, but you'll start to realize the biggest issue less than 2 minutes into the first stage. The music doesn't even loop properly. You'd think that would be the one requirement for music in a racing game, being at least long enough that most players can finish the race before it ends. It's actually really distracting, and before long you'll just want to turn it off and enjoy the silence. Or you can put on your own soundtrack. One more word of advice. If you play hardcore racing mode, do not pick a bike with a low top speed, because there's no weapons or gates, so you can't even use your boost ability. I guess I can see the appeal of this mode if you want something more realistic, but why in the name of Dave Thomas's old-fashioned ball sack are you looking for realism in a game where you can race as the fucking Burger King? Pocket Bike Racer is loads better than Big Bumpin', but it's still a lazy, barely passable, pathetic excuse for a racing game, overshadowed by pretty much any other game on the system. But now let's move on to the third and final game, and believe me, I've saved the weirdest for last. This is Sneak King. I want you to stop and think about this for a minute. This is a game where you play as the Burger King, walking around and sneaking up on people to deliver them fast food before they pass out from hunger. This is like something out of a Japanese person's fever dream. Compare this premise to Muscle March, where you command a train of strongmen to flex as they walk through walls, or Power Shovel, which is literally a backhoe simulator game.
This is one of the levels that really emphasizes the control scheme.
All things considered, this doesn't seem like that crazy of a premise. Not only is Sneak King by far the most creative game of the 3, it also seems to be the most polished and well made. There's a fair amount of attention to detail here, like they knew this was going to be the big seller. But yes, that said, it is very, very strange. Obviously, you play as the Burger King, but even that sentence isn't enough to describe what's really going on here. The game never presents the Burger King as an actual person. It's like if you go to Chuck E. Cheese, you know the big Chuck E. Cheese mascot walking around is just a guy in a costume, but they treat it like it's Chucky the Mouse here to entertain the kiddies. You play along. Here, they just flat out admit that, yes, this is some guy in a costume. His proportions are unnatural with his oversized head and upper body, and when you go into first person mode, you can only see out of the eye holes, and you can even hear the person breathing. They don't try to hide it. They embrace it. That is fucking awesome. No joke, I find this to be really clever. They knew when they were making a game based on the character of the Burger King, nobody would ever take them seriously. They knew they couldn't get away with trying to convince us that he was literally a king from the Burger Kingdom or something, come to deliver delicious Burger King food to people. They just said, fuck it, it's a game where you play as the Burger King, we're just gonna have fun with it. Everything the king does, he does with a flourish, whether it's knocking over a sewage pipe or just pressing a button to lower a bridge. He makes sure to make big, important gestures and ostentatious movements. He reminds me of a stage magician, which might have been what they were going for. Although his gracefulness can only get him so far. Whenever you need to hide in something, he moves like, well, like a person carrying a giant mask on their head. Which again, might have been deliberate. Honestly, my only gripe about this game is a lot of really minor things that do unfortunately add up. The first of which being the fact that the X and Y axes are switched and there's no way to change them. Pressing left on the right stick slides the camera left to look to the right. I really wish the industry could decide on the standard for this stuff. You're given a few missions at the start of every level, and as you complete them, more open up. And there's 20 in every stage. You need to complete 10 on each stage to unlock the next one, a feat which took me almost 5 hours to unlock all of them. One rather unintentionally hilarious aspect of this game is just how horrible the vision of the other people must be. Look, just because I'm not directly in their line of sight, I'm completely invisible. Yoo-hoo, you really don't see the giant mascot in a sweaty mask and culottes standing out in broad daylight? You need to have your eyes checked, bro. You know, I joke, but that may not be far from the truth. Everybody in this game must have diabetes or something. Not only can they not see someone unless they're 5 feet in front of them, but as soon as they start to feel a little bit hungry, you have maybe 30 seconds to deliver burgers to them before they literally collapse from hunger. Get used to that sound. It's basically impossible to deliver to everybody before they pass out unless you've taken the time to memorize everybody's position and the timing at which they get hungry. Which actually does become a necessity for clearing some of the later missions in the game. Deliver a burger to every citizen on this level. If one person passes out from hunger, it's over? Fuck me, I'm not doing that one. There's a chain gauge where you get more points based on how many people you deliver to without getting caught, which also takes into account factors like how hungry the target was and how much of a flourish you presented with. It's a surprisingly deep scoring system. I just love how a guy in a Burger King mask can just casually walk around a construction site and nobody bothers to call the police or even stop to ask him for identification. But I guess if somebody came into my house wanting to give me free Burger King food, I wouldn't have that much reason to kick him out. Someday. Or maybe the people at this construction site are just too lazy to give a damn. Oh, don't mind me, just hammering the air. Unfortunately, once the novelty of playing as the Burger King wears off, this game just becomes unbearably tedious. They try to give you some variety by issuing different objectives, like having a limited number of burgers, or having to deliver them only from hiding places, and even some that require you to simply be seen by as many people as possible. But there's 80 fucking missions! I can't even imagine trying to play through this game in one marathon session while staying sane. Let's be honest, you're only going to play this game for the joke factor and to show it to friends because it's so weird. Of all 3 games, Sneak King is probably the only one that I can honestly suggest picking up, but that's with a massive asterisk. Big Bumpin' is just shit, and Pocket Bike Racer is only worth owning if there's no way to get your hands on any other racing game out there. But Sneak King has a legitimately entertaining premise and is presented in a way that actually provides decent value for the money. But that's the only reason to pick it up. Don't pay more than $2 or $3 for a copy, because it's just not worth it. While all technically bad games, there's a certain silliness that does kind of make me glad I played them. They could have been better, absolutely, but when you combine fast food and video games, trust me, the end result could have been a lot worse. Personally, I think I'd like to see more companies do this. Maybe a FedEx delivery simulator or a sim restaurant kind of game where you build and manage a Wendy's. At the very least, they'd get jackasses like me talking about it on the internet. And you know what they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Somebody came into my house wanting to give me free Burger King food, I wouldn't have that much reason to kick them out.
Hey, guess where I just came from?
Perfect.